Oh look, a Scooby-Doo spin-off animation. I will watch this to lose myself in the nostalgia of my childhood, which will allow me to escape the insufferable noise of modern society, however briefly.
From amidst the chaos of the human story, there sometimes emerges an ultimate, a force of supreme greatness that is the culmination of a cultural or political movement, or even of great personal endeavour. The concept of an ultimate comes from Mark Lewinson, author of the biographical literary masterpiece Tune In, The Beatles, All These Years. The Beatles was, of course, such an ultimate. The Simpsons is a more recent example. I am, of course, referring to the true Simpsons, not the present incarnation of it, that isn't even a pitiful shadow of its former self, but rather an insult to the memory of itself. Converse to the ultimate is the anti-ultimate, a supreme abomination that comes from the merging of dark forces, an instance of this being the People's Temple. In 1978, America's post-50s fascination with religious cults culminated in the mass suicide of 909 members of the People's Temple, a cult founded by Jim Jones. An example of the anti-ultimate in art is the 2019 movie Cats. This calamity was nightmared into being as an attempt to inflict upon the world a screen adaptation of the worst musical ever written. Cats is what happens when you start with an appalling idea, then do everything wrong, resulting in a brief point in space and time in which evil emerges in its purest form. The adult animated show, Velma, is an anti-ultimate. When I look at a TV series as all-encompassingly bad as Velma, my immediate thought isn't, why is this so bad? It's, how is this even possible? What forces of evil mobilized to bring about this obscenity? How did the once great culture of America degrade so much that people so utterly talentless, lazy, and wicked as the cultural vandals responsible for Velma even got hired in the first place? In a sane world, if someone pitched a Scooby-Doo spin-off in which almost everyone was race-swapped, Scooby-Doo wasn't in the show, the two main characters were gay, nudity, drugs, and grotesque animation was prevalent, teens were heavily sexualized, and every joke stank worse than a fully processed Scooby snack, any executive would respond to the pitch with, "Is this a joke?" And, upon finding out that it is not a joke, would get angry at the idiots pitching this juvenile nonsense for wasting his time. But this is not a sane world. America is not presently in a state of cultural sanity, and any executive with the talent and sanity to voice concerns about such a project is either long gone or has submitted to the regime. Let's do a little experiment.
You want to play a little game?
I'm going to pitch a show to you, and I would like you to imagine that you are an executive and this is a serious proposal for a show that will cost about $5 million an episode, 10 shows in total plus marketing, so I'm asking you to invest $85 million in this show. Good morning, I know you're busy, so let's get straight to the pitch. So, White Panther. We're going to remake Black Panther, but instead of Black Panther being a black guy, he's going to be a baldy Irish guy. I mean, instead of what is Black Panther now, like a 9-year-old girl or something? Sorry, I didn't watch the last movie. Anyway. And now he's called White Panther. Shuri is still in the show, but instead of being a young black woman, she's now a middle-aged Australian alcoholic man. He's White Panther's best friend, and they sit around and talk shit about how to get laid and brag about the last bitch they fucked and smoke weed and drink. Lupita, sorry I can't remember her character's name, she's still in the show, but now she's in a lesbian relationship with War Machine, who is now a hot Japanese girl, and we'll have these long erotic lesbian scenes and it'll be like, out of nowhere, they'll be in the middle of a battle and then they just start tearing each other's clothes off and slamming their bodies together. And what's that metal they have in Wakanda called? Unobtainium. So that's not a thing anymore, because we want this to be a character story and the whole unobtainium thing just gets in the way of that. Oh, and they don't live in Wakanda anymore because we really want to troll the fans, so Wakanda won't even get mentioned. They all live in London. Now, obviously, we need a villain. So the villain in this show is called Sugar Daddy. He's the head of an evil mega corporation that has bought all the food companies, and he's putting too much sugar in everything and bribing governments so they'll look the other way. And as a result, all the girls are getting fat so the men don't want to fuck them, and no babies are being born. Obviously, Marvel always has political messages in their shows and movies now, and this is going to be our political message, the themes. Sugar is bad, and food companies are evil. The goal of Sugar Daddy is to massively reduce the human population to a more manageable size, very much Thanos inspired, so White Panther and Shuri have to stop him. While White Panther works on a plan to stop Sugar Daddy, Shuri, she's an inventor, right? So he invents what he calls beer goggles, and when men wear these, it makes women look hot, and I mean steak searing on a barbecue hut. We'll have these fucking gross scenes where in one shot we see a girl from the perspective of the beer goggles and she's stunning and thin and gorgeous, and in the next shot we show her from the third person perspective and it's just this wheel riding some skinny little dude. It's gonna be great. Viewers will be puking into their popcorn. So, because of the beer goggles, the day is saved and Sugar Daddy is foiled. So, what do you think, lads? White Panther, Sugar Daddy's Revenge. As ridiculous as that show sounds, it's no more absurd than Velma, nor would the decision to greenlight Sugar Daddy's Revenge be any worse than the decision to reboot Scooby-Doo as Velma in its current state. The reason my show would be rejected while Velma gets greenlit is that current political conditions allow, and indeed encourage, hellspawn like Velma to exist. Not only are the most sadistic and nefarious of bootlicks hired as showrunners, but anyone who questions them, who stands in their way, is in trouble. And they fucking know it. And the regime has made damn sure they know it. Imagine you were an executive in that room when the details of Velma were being discussed. After listening in horror for 30 minutes to what this show is going to be, you make your view known. Guys, I think we're going about this wrong. I don't like the race swaps. I think although it will generate a lot of free attention in media, that attention will come at the cost of fan goodwill. We'll end up alienating a lot of the IP's pre-existing fan base before the show even launches. The presence of character sexuality is fine, but I think it's being hugely overemphasized. We should dial that down a bit. The whole Daphne dealing drugs subplot is just a dumb distraction. I know you're trying to do the whole subversion thing, but honestly, it's funny for about 2 seconds and then it's just dumb. And I don't think Shaggy should be swapped out for this black guy, Norval. Again, let's just sell the existing fan base what they want. I don't have a problem with black or Asian characters or lesbians or any of that, but how about we just put all that in a new show instead of shoehorning as much of it as we can into an IP that, to be honest, you don't seem to have much interest in anyway? I mean, do any of you even like Scooby-Doo? The room goes silent for a few seconds, and when the meeting picks back up, it proceeds as if you had never spoken. Later that day, you receive an email from Shakisha, the Executive Vice President of DEI. She tells you that she has had some complaints. During the meeting earlier, you expressed views that people in the meeting felt was an outright denial of their lived experience. One employee in particular felt physically threatened by your words, and several expressed concerns about your refusal to engage in affirmative dialogue. For the safety of everyone, you have been banned from future meetings regarding this project. Later that week, an allegation comes in about unwanted advances from an anonymous female colleague, and under the advice of the Assistant Chief Resource Officer of HR, Nikisha, you resign. The last thing you need is to get involved in a sexual harassment lawsuit. You leave the building knowing you'll be broke in less than a month. Nothing as bad as Velma could have been made in the past. It would have been stopped long before it was greenlit. But in the modern, Sovietized corporate atmosphere where these decisions get made, no one is willing to stand up to this nonsense because, like the terrified apparatchiks of the Soviet government, they don't want to get a knock on the door from the secret police at 3 a.m. They don't want to get cancelled. Now that I have attempted to explain how something like Velma can be allowed to exist, I will offer my thoughts on the show itself. Velma's biggest problem is that it is a comedy show that isn't funny. Its humour falls into 6 categories. Meta humour.
Have you ever noticed how pilot episodes of TV shows always have more gratuitous sex and nudity than the rest of the series?
Trope deconstruction.
I know my rights. I get a phone call and a handsome detective I infuriate with my indifference.
Snark.
I'm not just a waitress, I'm also
A basic bitch who doesn't even know how to use hashtags.
Shock humour. Racist humour.
Do I know you?
It's Velma from school. You cheat off me in Spanish because you think I'm Mexican.
And small dick jokes.
It's the murders.
It's not small, it's scared.
We'll start with meta. This is when a show references itself as a show.
See, now if this was a show, it'd be super hot if you two kissed.
And it's funny because it's a show, but the characters know it's a show. Here's some examples.
And yeah, normally in pop culture, when a slutty girl is murdered, we're all a little like, well, maybe she deserved it.
On TV shows, the malt shop owner is always a friendly black man or a spicy and meatball Italian.
I'll get to the point on this one. Meta humour needs to die. It's not funny. It is the modern equivalent of toilet humour. It's easy and serves as a substitute when you don't have the talent or don't want to make the effort to produce humour that is genuinely funny. It's also the entertainment equivalent of talking about yourself when you have nothing else to say.
I literally will put a thought down in my head and it's gone when I go back for it. Like, I'm like, wait, what was I just thinking about for an hour?
Try thinking of someone who is talkative but very boring. They're probably boring because they only ever talk about themselves. When a show is forced to self-reference, it's because the writers have basically nothing to say and can't think of anything else. The now infamous She-Hulk relied massively on meta-humor to pass itself off as a comedy.
I just want to make sure that you don't think this is one of those cameo every week type of shows. It's not.
Jesus Christ, that show was bad. Meta-humor seems to be popular among millennials for some reason. It's not funny, it's not clever, or entertaining, or insightful. It's just lazy and dull, and not to sound like the second coming of Hugo Boss, but it's fucking passé. If it ever was effective, She-Hulk killed it, and Velma fucked the corpse. This annoying millennialism needs to die quickly and painfully. Now on to trope deconstruction. This is an offshoot of meta-humor. To be fair, this can sometimes be funny when done well, like in a good spoof movie.
Get out of here, Dewey.
What are y'all doing in here?
We're smoking reefer. And you don't want no part of this shit.
But in Velma, it's done abysmally. Let's look at some examples.
I'm a suspect? I thought lesbians were good at solving crimes. It's like the one positive stereotype perpetuated by cop shows.
That is what made Brenda so special. She was the rare slut that did not deserve to be murdered.
In Velma, the trope deconstructions form part of the fourth wall breaking meta-humor and the snark. The writers are too lazy to bother putting together a proper scene in which a trope deconstruction is the main goal, instead opting for low-effort, offhand comments like,
If the kids in every teen show ever can get through a brush with a deranged serial killer, so can I.
The writers are also complete hypocrites. They're trying to demonstrate how clever and culturally aware they are by deconstructing and poking fun at movie and TV tropes, but their show is full of cliched modern TV tropes. Let's go through them. Pointless race swaps, check. Make characters gay or lesbian when previously they weren't, check. Have a clueless white guy be the butt of jokes, check.
Subvert the audience's expectations.
Check. Because Goody Two-Shoes Daphne is a drug dealer now? What a raging piece of audience subversion that was. Meta-humor.
In teen movies, whenever a girl needs money, a guy sells something and then blackmails the girl into dating him for it.
Check. Unlikable female lead, check. Garbage dialogue.
All our classmates are idiots or sheep, so let's assume they're high.
Man, if I ever even think about getting into 420 culture, or especially 420 related humor, kill me.
Check. Showrunner self-insert, check. Feminist dribble.
Normally, origin stories are about tall, handsome guys struggling with the burden of being handed even more power. And if they are about girls, it's usually like, hey, what made this hot chick go crazy?
Check. And of course, updating an old IP for a modern audience. Check. If the writers wanted to make a show that was a clever deconstruction and subversion of TV and movie tropes, they should have had at least a modicum of originality in their show, which Velma doesn't. And the tropes that the Velma writers think they are making fun of are tropes that were played out decades ago. Like when Velma says,
I know my rights. I get a phone call and a handsome detective I infuriate with my indifference.
Yeah, in 1998 maybe? These dated references show just how out of touch the writers of this show are. Or in the show's introduction when Velma says,
Normally, origin stories are about tall, handsome guys struggling with the burden of being handed even more power.
Have you seen a Marvel movie recently? Have you seen how men are depicted on screen over the past few years? For a group of writers who seem obsessed with self-referential humour, they are utterly lacking in self-awareness, given the fact that they are poking fun at largely dead movie and TV tropes but are unaware that their show contains, after only 2 episodes, basically every modern trope. Snark humour forms the basis of Velma's character. She's snarky to everyone and about everything. This character is so unlikable and snarky that I can't imagine her getting through even the most basic conversation without being an insufferable bitch.
Hello, what is your name?
Oh yeah, pretending to give a shit about what someone's name is. Wasn't that like a thing in the 90s?
Oh, I meant no offense. I just wanted to...
It's okay, I'm like totally over it. Just call me Mexican or something, whatever white people used to call brown people until like literally 5 minutes ago.
I would prefer to call you by...
Oh right, yeah, I forgot. It's what the white guy prefers that really matters. Sorry, for a second there I forgot I was living in a racist patriarchy.
Oh, well, my name is John...
Okay, seriously, if I wanted to be your one-night stand, your cock would be in my mouth already. If it hasn't happened by now, it's not gonna. Sorry, you'll get over it. Bye. Don't let your white privilege hit the door on your way out.
There's even a montage during the edgy, subversive, and shocking drug-dealing subplot in this show in which Velma is snarky and annoying to every character she comes across.
What'll it cost?
Not much, just your dad's love when you blow out your knee and lose your scholarship. You know what else feels forced? Your belief that you're the only one sleeping with the lead. Narc! Narc! White girl with too much money. White girl with too much money.
It's like the showrunners set out to make the main protagonist of this show as unlikable as possible, and this has actually become a really odd woke trope. She-Hulk is an ungrateful, arrogant bitch who treats men like third-rate actors showing up for an audition. Rings of Power's Guy Ladriel is a clinically psychotic genocidal serial killer, and Velma is a nasty, prickly, antisocial, shitty friend who treats diversity Shaggy like an annoying fan. What's fascinating is that in the minds of the showrunners of these shows, their strong female leads are model examples of what women should aspire to be. She-Hulk is living the corporate dream, Galadriel is a strong and powerful warrior, and Velma will no doubt turn out to be the girl genius who solves the crime, finds the murderer, and saves the day. Snark humour is a bit like extra spicy sauce. It can be good in tiny amounts, like one or two short lines from a peripheral character in an episode.
Yes, sir, cat in tight pants.
Well, looks can be deceiving.
Not as deceiving as a low-down, dirty deceiver.
Well said. Wasn't that well said, Zoe?
Had a kind of poetry to it, sir.
Yes, I'd forgotten you're moonlighting as a criminal mastermind now. Got your next heist planned?
But it's very easily overdone. In the case of Velma, it's not so much a vegetable soup with a hint of spicy sauce, it's just the entire bottle of spicy sauce emptied into a bowl with a raw potato thrown in. Another example of the laziness of this show's humour is the shock humour. It takes the form of nudity and violence. In the opening scene, there's a group of teen schoolgirls showering. Whoa, nudity in an animation in 2023? How edgy and shocking! At the end of that scene, we see an example of shock violence, a desecrated corpse falling out of a locker. The reason any of this is funny is because it's an animation, and animations are supposed to be harmless and cute, but this one has nudity and violence, so we're all supposed to chuckle nervously and hope that God isn't watching. One of the show's more obnoxious aspects is its racist humour. This consists of two elements. The main one is the now tired trope of the clumsy idiot white man being made a fool of and providing slapstick relief. The second is anti-white barbs, which the writers seem to think is cutting observational humour.
You cheat off me in Spanish because you think I'm Mexican.
Maybe.
But these jokes don't work for two reasons. First, it's one-way traffic. You only get jokes at the expense of white people. No other race can have jokes made at their expense. The result is that these crappy jokes come off not only as ill-conceived attempts at humour, but as bullying. This is just the writers jumping onto the anti-white dog pile. It's easy, it's lazy, it's mean-spirited, and it's cowardly. There's not going to be any backlash for this, and they know it. It's establishment-endorsed, regime-approved humour, the worst kind of humour. Try suffering through an episode of Colbert if you don't think so. Or if you're feeling particularly masochistic, check out the opening monologue of this year's Golden Globe Awards. The second reason the racist jokes don't work is because they do not reflect reality. In order for observational humour to be funny, it needs to have a core of truth.
When it comes to dealing with customers, that's when you get the big smile. That's when you get the big smile. Businessman always has that big smile on his face as he carefully positions himself directly behind the customer.
But the brave statements being made through the anti-white jokes in Velma are based on woke dogma, not reality. Take this one as an example.
If I were a rich white dude, I'd kill everybody just to get away with it.
Who is she referring to? What rich white guy got away with murder? To be clear, we are not talking about political leaders using their country's military as an instrument of murder. I can't think of a single example of a rich white guy who got away with murder. I can think of a rich black man who got away with murder. Observational humour has to reflect reality to work, not your lived reality, not your interpretation of reality, actual reality. Now we move on to the small dick jokes.
You didn't mention Fred had a tiny dong.
Oh yeah, Real baby carrot.
This is the one aspect of Velma that I cannot fault. The small dick jokes are hilarious. All 428 of them. The first time it was funny, the 300th time it was crying while trying to keep my ribs from breaking funny. One of Velma's biggest problems is that it is a murder mystery show, but the viewer has absolutely no idea who the victims are, so is unable to care about them and thus not able to become emotionally involved in the show. Let's take an example of a murder victim done right. Laura Palmer in Twin Peaks, one of the great murder victims of television history. At the start of the show, we learn immediately that she is dead, so obviously we don't know anything about her at this stage, but over the course of the show, we learn about and indeed get to know Laura in the form of diaries, reminiscences of friends and family, pictures, and even dreams. The viewer ends up establishing a very strong emotional connection to Laura and wants to see the murderer found and punished. But in Velma, the first victim just falls out of a locker and we never learn anything about her. Who she was, what she was like. I can't even remember her name. Same for the victim at the end of episode 1. She just shows up in a dumpster. I have no idea who that girl is. Give the audience at least a few minutes with the victim so we actually care about her death and can develop an emotional connection with her and become invested in the hunt for the killer. An audience doesn't even need that long with a victim to develop a connection with her. Scream does this very well in its opening scene. Drew Barrymore is only on screen for a few minutes, but she's shown as a very nice, polite, girl next door type any guy would love to bring home to mom and dad, so we care when she's murdered and develop an immediate desire to see the murderer brought to justice. The writers of Velma failed massively at investing the audience in the central driving plot of this show, the hunt for the killer. That was an easy win and they botched it. Caricatures instead of characters. Fred in Velma isn't a character, he's a caricature. He's like a man-shaped piece of cardboard with the words "dumb privileged white man" written on it in huge letters and placed in the show. He is so stupid that he cannot be said to have any agency, which makes him an extremely boring character. And he's like this for political reasons. The job of Fred in this show is to serve as the conduit through which anti-white messaging can be channeled to the audience. Fred reminds me of that guy in She-Hulk who was essentially a physical manifestation of the showrunners' hatred of men. He was in the show because he was how the showrunners wanted the world to see men. Dumb, incompetent, clumsy, sexist, and narcissistic. Ironically, that description sums up the She-Hulk showrunners fairly nicely. Fred is the exact same thing. He is how the Velma showrunners want the world to see white men. Dumb, incompetent, clumsy, sexist, privileged, and narcissistic. I wonder if that description would remind the Velma showrunners of anyone. Fred's parents are also caricatures, rich white people who are shallow, easily angered, and self-obsessed. The showrunners were willing and eager to perform a character assassination on Fred in order to push a political message because they are activists who despise the source material and were excited at the prospect of butchering it and spitting in the fans' faces. These people aren't just talentless idiots, they're emotional sadists, and they know it and they're proud of it. Velma displays woke double standards. Daphne is depicted as a sympathetic character. In the minds of the writers, she is a good guy character, yet we see her try to pressure Fred into going further sexually than he's comfortable with, and getting angry with him for not complying. If a man did this with a woman, he could not be presented in a positive light thereafter. He would have to be depicted as a villain. Can you imagine Thor grabbing some hot side piece, forcing the zipper on the back of her dress down, and when she struggles, he tells her off for not wanting to get hammered by the Thunder God? When men pressure women, they're evil, but women can do it and still be considered good guys. Another double standard is the small dick jokes. Imagine if these jokes were made at the expense of a flat-chested girl.
Oh, hey, Fred. Oh, Daphne. Sorry, I could only see you from the neck down because I was looking at the ground and contemplating how awful it would be to not have boobs.
If that happened, the Twitter mob would tear this show to shreds for body shaming, and one or two showrunner scalps would have to be offered up to them to satiate their bloodlust. But if you're making fun of a guy for having a small dick, no problem. Velma is also far too obsessed with sex and sexuality. This show seems strangely determined to sexualize teenagers. The main characters are all high school students, so the naked shower scene at the start is depicting girls aged around 17 or possibly even younger. There's also the lesbian kiss between Velma and Daphne that Scooby-Doo fans everywhere had so long waited for.
Did that work?
Yeah.
Because, as the explosive popularity of the smash hit comedy Bros recently proved, audiences are just crying out for more gay content in everything, everywhere, all the time. I don't have a problem with gay characters in a show. Omar is my favourite character in The Wire and one of my favourite TV characters of all time. But when a show takes characters that were previously straight and makes them gay for no other reason than to make them gay, you do get the sense that this is being done as part of an agenda to queerify entertainment to the fullest extent possible.
Our leadership over there has been so welcoming to my not at all secret gay agenda. And
rather than a creative decision that was taken for dramatic, narrative, thematic, symbolic, or any other kind of legitimate reason, or even just done for a bit of variety. A woke principle that Velma adheres to is that the voice actors match the race of the characters. Mindy Kaling is playing Velma because Velma is South Asian and Mindy Kaling is South Asian, and obviously because Velma is a self-insert of Mindy Kaling, who is one of the showrunners. This is being done because it is today considered racist for actors to voice characters whose race does not match their own. So for example, this is now considered racist.
Hey, Chief, we could arrest every single car thief in Springfield.
After the show, Lou. After the show.
The argument is that when actors take voice roles that do not match their race, those actors are taking roles away from minorities. That's right, they are. They're also taking the role away from everyone else who auditioned for it. That's how acting works. One actor gets the part. A race does not voice a character, an individual does. The actor voicing a character should be the actor who is best for that role. No consideration should be given to race or sex or age. If you follow the logic of that argument that an actor's race must match the race of the character, you end up at the conclusion that an actor must resemble the character in everything. Bart Simpson can't be voiced by a middle-aged woman because she's not an 8-year-old boy. An 8-year-old boy must be found for the role, and when his voice breaks, well, you're just gonna have to find a new 8-year-old boy with a similar voice and make it work. This inane argument that actors shouldn't voice characters not the same colour as them is frustratingly stupid. Actors act. That is their job. Let them do their job. Narrowing down the pool of candidates who can apply to a voice role isn't inclusive as it claims to be, it's exclusive because it artificially excludes many actors who may be great in the role. This garbage idea that cartoon characters and the actors that voice them have to be of the same race is another element of modern entertainment that has to die. All of Velma's many problems add up to a show that is a complete mess. It is a bizarre, poorly thought out, unrefined hodgepodge of woke politics, cliched tropes, very bad writing, random attempts at subversion, crappy humour, and boring characters. This show is like the drama class spitball ideas of two 14-year-old idiot stoners that became a TV show. Dude, what if at the start of the show there was like all these hot naked chicks in the shower? Yeah, and a hot chick falls out of the locker and like doesn't have a brain. Oh, dude. And like Velma is still Velma, but she's like Indian or something. Oh, dude, and we could have like her father banging some hot waitress who's really dumb. And the waitress gets pregnant. Yeah. And Daphne's really hot. And she makes out with Asian Velma. Oh, bro, that's so whack, dude. Oh, bro. There's like this black dude with a fro and totally wants to fuck Velma, but she's like so not into him. And Daphne's gonna be a drug dealer. Oh, dude, that's great. And the show will be gory as fuck. There'll be a scene where there's like a dude and he gets his leg chopped off. Oh, and Fred's gonna have like a really small dick and be so embarrassed about it. Dude, that slaps so hard, bro. Oh, bro. Velma is what happens when a group of talentless activists with an agenda gather in a room and throw all of their tired tropes, crappy ideas, and political messages into an IP that they despise. The result is a clunky, dumb, boring, juvenile mess. HBO should be ashamed of themselves for subjecting innocent people to this calamitous desecration, not just of the Scooby-Doo franchise, but of art and entertainment itself, of humanity. This thing is a libel upon mankind. We are a worse species for having created it. If an alien race decide to exterminate us, they will be able to use Velma as one of their justifications. The one positive to take away from Velma is the audience reaction. Audiences have overwhelmingly rejected this show by the largest margin that I have ever seen. It presently has a 6% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Even critics, who usually run cover for dog vomit like Velma, couldn't risk their reputation by pretending to like it and have thrown it under the bus. We may live in a time in which our culture is sick enough for putrid demon shit like Velma to be raised from the bowels of hell into the realm of man, but at least our society isn't so sick yet that we can't see it for what it is. It is an anti-Ultimate, a uniquely terrible show created in a uniquely terrible era. Thanks for listening, subscribe, and don't forget to desecrate the like button beyond all recognition.